Good afternoon. It is October 21st. So my plan is to be vlogging for I hear the northern flicker outside and a deer right outside my window. Anyway, my plan is to vlog for the next few days. I'm going to be working on a journal spread. Recently I took a sketchbooking class by Dianne Sutherland. And if you don't know Dianne Sutherland, she is my favorite contemporary nature journalist. And she's not even a nature journalist, she's actually a botanical artist, so she does botanical pieces for shows and galleries and stuff like that. But she has an online challenge with a friend, and they do a spread in their nature journals. She calls it her sketchbook. So they do a spread in the sketchbook, like one spread per week, or even 2 weeks or 3 weeks, however long it takes them to work on it. And her work is so beautiful. And I wanted to make a full video about taking the class and implementing some of the steps and tips that I learned in Dianne's class, but I was just having trouble finishing my spreads. I've started 2 now, and I haven't finished them. What happens for me is that the painting process takes too long, and then the longer it takes, I reach a certain point where I am just kind of bored and uninspired and not really interested in finishing. When I start out, I want to reach the finish line as soon as possible, and when that doesn't happen, I get really bored. So I'm going to try to combat that. I just want to have fun in my nature journal. I wanted to take you with me to go out and look for a subject to paint, but I actually kind of cheated because I already found one and I just brought it home. So it's post oak leaves, and I got several different branches just so you can see the color, and a couple extra little leaves because I like the way they look. I'm going to use this bunch as my main subject, but I might swap out some of these leaves because none of these leaves have changed color yet. And I want my illustration to be colorful and autumnal, so I think I'm going to switch some of the plain leaves out in my illustration for some of the colored ones. One of the things that Dianne does that I really enjoy seeing, and also it's not just her, there's other artists, and I've even tried this before, and it just didn't stick, but I'm wanting to try again, and that is using monochromatic. I'm going to do Brunei, so that is using sepias instead of grays. So grisaille is gray, Brunei is sepia. I have quite a few colored pencils to try out. They're all Prismacolor. So I'm still going to be sketching with my erasable colored pencils, just because that's what I enjoy sketching with. I'm going to start my sketch, and like I said, I'm just using an erasable colored pencil. This is from like 2000. I'll show you down on my desk. I love how bright my desk looks in the evening light. Alright, so obviously this is my nature journal. These are old northern red oak leaves. This was one of the studies I was doing for my initial Dianne Sutherland video. This is the... It won't focus. This is the... It's upside down. Oh my goodness. This is the colored pencil that I use to sketch. Like I said, it's literally from like 2000. Light brown. I also have another one in a different color. Same thing, Crayola erasable color pencil. but it is more of a yellow brown. I use them both interchangeably. So I'm actually going to be using one of Dianne Sutherland's sketchbook spreads as inspiration for this piece. This is the photo. So she has the sprig, and then I don't really know if you can see, but in the background she has leaves sketched out that she just didn't paint. And then she has a graphite tree over here, additional acorns around the edges, and then she also has where she has tested ink colors. So her level of detail is something that honestly at this point I'm really not interested in striving for, because I feel like it's in my best interest, again, to just get it done. To just make the spread and get it done as soon as possible. And in her class, she talks about measuring the leaves. So like, where is it? This is the one I'm using. So she talks about measuring your specimens so that they're to scale. I'm not going to do that because I really like the size, the scale of her specimen in her nature journal. And I like how much of the page it takes up. So I think I'm going to do mine more like that. Just maybe slightly smaller than what it really is. I thought I would take you through my sketching process and explain a little bit about what I'm doing. So you can see when I start my sketch, I'm using really loose circular motions. I do this to map out the general size and shape of my composition. So at that point, I'm not actually sketching the specimen, I'm just figuring out how my composition will lay on the page. After I have that guideline, I start filling in the individual shapes I see in my specimen. So I'm working around the leaves and just copying the shapes that I see. Sometimes I'll do this until the sketch is complete and then go in and adjust my sketch and tighten my lines. Other times I'll do that as I go along, and it looks like that's what I did here. So I'm focusing my attention on one leaf at a time. And when you're sketching, you truly don't have to worry about getting it just right. A lot of times I'll improvise or cut something out of my composition. It doesn't have to look exactly the way the specimen looks in your hand. Imagine that you're holding this specimen. It's a three-dimensional object. Any way you turn it, you're going to see different shapes, even if you only move it slightly. So there may be a little bit of disparity in the way the specimen looks and the way your sketch looks. And you can turn your specimen and pick out shapes you find more interesting. You're allowed to use creative liberty here. Now we're on to the painting. So one of the techniques from Dianne's course that I tried to implement is using smaller brush strokes. So typically when I paint a subject, I do a lot of flat layering. So I'll fill in the whole subject with one color and then add on top of that. I still kind of did that in this painting, but I was trying to still be mindful of where light and shadow will lay. So it was less filling in the whole subject with paint and more filling in sections. And using tiny brush strokes isn't something I'm used to doing for a full painting. In fact, most of my paint application in this piece isn't even brush strokes, it's dots. So I'm dipping my brush in paint and then dotting it onto the paper where I see that color in the specimen. And I'm doing that several times over as well in each portion of the specimen, so there's a building of color and building of depth. And I feel like it really added to the realism of the painting, even though realism isn't really something that I'm going for. I still want my painting to look like a painting. I want it to look like a piece of art. But I think getting a greater level of detail is something that adds character. It means that the end product looks more skilled. Even now, watching myself paint this, as I'm watching the video, that's more detail than I ever do in one section at a time. The level of detail that you can see right now at the top of the leaf, that's what I would end up with typically. Has been a few days since we last spoke. It's Thursday, October 24th. This is what I have done on my spread. About 3 days worth of work. So not a whole lot. It's very slow going. So I think what I'm going to do is paint the acorns. I have my Prismacolor color pencils here that I'm going to use for my Brunei work. And I just have this piece of paper that I've done color pencil testing on before. And this, if you can see, this is my walnut ink. That's color pencil testing, and that's just a pen nib testing. So I'm going to use this walnut ink and compare it against my Prismacolors to see if I can find a color that I like. I'm also not sure. It's possible that I may end up doing a combination of different colors. I might end up using all of them. Thinking I like these three colors the best. So we have light umber, sienna brown, and chocolate. I'm still having a hard time deciding if I want to paint these leaves or do Brunei. Hello, it is a new day, and I've just finished editing the part of the video that you've just watched. I wanted to check in and let you guys know what I think of the journal spread and the Dianne Sutherland course. So I feel like giving myself a week to complete the spread was a positive thing. Usually I feel like I'm in a rush. So having a week, I could just take my time and really focus on making something that I enjoy the process of making, and also enjoy the end result. So I'll show you what I have. If you remember me complaining at the beginning of the video about not finishing any of the spreads that I was trying to do for the sketchbooking course. Here I am yet again, coming to the end of it, and I'm not finished. But that's what I got done in a week, and probably with more practice I'll be able to get faster at painting and add more elements to my journal spreads. And I think eventually I would like to add a colored pencil Brunei landscape or tree. So do I think that the Dianne Sutherland sketchbooking course was worth it? Yes, I do. And I feel like looking at my painting, the quality of the painting is higher than what I normally produce. Yeah, I think the leaves turned out beautiful and so much more detailed than what I normally do. I'm really happy with the way that it looks. So I tried to share some of the techniques that Dianne shared in her course, obviously without giving away too much information. Very informative. So I'm going to put Dianne's information in the description box if taking one of her classes is something that you think you'd be interested in doing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for being here, and I hope you have a lovely week, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.